The human cortical system is an incredible feat of biological engineering. It features multiple backup systems with feed-forward and feedback processes damage the brain, and instead of death, only one area of functioning might be affected. Sometimes, other brain parts repurpose themselves to take over the role of the damaged cortical tissue. Humans long believed their ability to regenerate neurons in the CNS was limited. Yet compared to other species with similar cortical structures, this ability is remarkable. Humans are the only known species able to survive damage to cortical tissue, but their brain has a major drawback: it consumes at least 20% of the body's overall energy. Additionally, the human brain needs proper nutrition and hydration. Any deficiencies in these can impair its functioning. Moreover, memory processing only happens when paired with sleep, a concept not entirely understood by the rest of the galaxy. Some species generate phases of reduced consciousness like human meditation, but none show the complete shutdown of conscious function that humans do for proper brain functioning, requiring at least 8 hours of unconsciousness. Compared to similar cortical structures, the human sleep process resembles death in other species. The ship was eerily quiet, the engines thrumming in the background. It was a strange fact about human space life. For 8 hours or more of the solar cycle, the humans lay silent and unmoving, completely unaware of their surroundings, as if dead. After nearly a year aboard the human ship, Krill had grown accustomed to this odd fact, yet it still amazed and slightly terrified him. The first time it happened, he was horrified. Nearly a year ago, on his first day aboard the human ship, he spent 12 hours at Captain B's side, touring the ship and meeting the human crew. They were terrifying yet friendly, smiling with sharp white teeth and predatory eyes. They introduced him to their odd greetings like handshakes and high fives. They even made fun of a human counterpart who lost an eye, calling himself a cyclops, which added to Krill's growing list of things to learn about. After a while, Krill noticed the humans slowing down, their eyes drooping, and one yawn would start a chain reaction. Eventually, the captain laid a hand on his arm and said, "Well, Krill, that's the ship for you. Now go get some rest. If you have any questions, I'll be in my quarters." Following the captain's lead, the crew disbanded, and the ship grew oddly quiet. The humans had vanished. Krill wandered the ship, marveling at its intricate structures and crude constructions. He had many questions, sure one of the humans would answer, but finding a human was difficult as it seemed no one was aboard. The lights were dimmed eerily, and the usual blabbering of humans was replaced by the distant roar of the engines. Krill wandered for some minutes, opening doors and peeking inside, but found nothing. Eventually, he made his way to the crew's quarters, peeking inside rooms and down hallways. One door opened to darkness with a quiet hiss, and what he saw froze him in fear: an entire group of humans flat on their backs, eyes closed, unmoving, in various poses of distress. Were they dead? Krill backed away, body thrumming with fear. What could have done this? What could have destroyed 10 humans without a fight or a scream? This couldn't be right. He rushed to the next door, opened it with another hiss, and saw the same sight: humans lying in darkness, unmoving, mouths open, some leaking clear fluid. Krill backed away again, terrified. What could have gone wrong? He needed to tell the captain. He needed to warn someone. He deflated the hydrogen sac on his back for greater mobility, scurrying down the hall and up the stairs to the captain's quarters. Even here, there were no sounds. He hurried down the hallway, reached the captain's door, and it opened with a hiss into the darkening void. Oh no, the captain lay curled on his side, knees drawn to his chest. Krill guessed his posture was defensive, head down, chin covering his neck, knees drawn up, blocking frontal organs. Had something attacked and killed him as he defended himself? Clear fluid oozed from his lips, body slightly colder than before. He must have died recently. Krill stepped tentatively into the room, just him now, and he had to figure out what happened. He stepped closer, foot knocking into a boot on the floor, and the corpse jolted up. Krill let out a shrill cry of horror, and the corpse yelped in surprise, leaping to its feet. A light flashed on. Krill staggered back, tripping over another boot, falling to the floor. The corpse lurched around, cursing and covering its eyes, then said, "Krill, what the heck is going on?" Krill tilted his head in confusion. "Captain?" "No, the Easter Bunny." "Yeah, it's me." The human blinked a foggy green eye at him. "What are you doing?" "I think the crew is dead," Krill stammered, shaking heavily. The captain narrowed his eye. "Dead? All of them? Were they still breathing?" Krill shook his head. "Well, they weren't moving that I could see, and their body temperatures were very low. The captain paused and sat back on the bench, chuckling subduedly. Krill, the crew is asleep. Asleep? Krill asked, confused. The captain nodded. Yes, asleep. It's when we shut our bodies down to preserve energy, which helps with learning, memory, and cleaning things out. It also speeds up healing, like my eye. He motioned to his recently lost eye. Very important to avoid infection, and I need at least 8 hours of it, so if you don't mind. Sorry, Captain Krill said, shuffling away awkwardly. The human waved, confusing him even more as he returned to his supine position. It's all right, Krill. Never occurred to me that you guys didn't sleep. Everyone I know does it. After some scary nights, as the human called it, weird since there's no solar body to cause such a cycle on a spaceship, or is there? Krill didn't want to visit engineering to find out about their power source. With the captain's permission, Krill ran tests to observe this sleep. Using advanced imaging, he recreated what the humans felt and saw during these times while monitoring their physiological function. What he found was terrifying. The captain closed his eye and grew very still. At first, there was nothing, but after a few minutes, the heart rate slowed dramatically from 80 to 70, then to 60. At 58, Krill panicked, waking the human with a jolt and a curse. Human, are you okay? He asked hesitantly. I won't be if you startle me like that again. Krill bashfully let him go back, holding himself back from waking the humans as his heart slowed again. His breathing grew shallow, body temperature dropped, brain waves slowed, and as the human fell further, Krill panicked again when the motor cortex locked up. When the human awoke this time, he was more disoriented, groggy, demanding to know what was going on. You were dying, Krill screeched, not understanding what the human didn't get about that. The human raised an eyebrow. No. Krill nodded. He had seen these symptoms at the hospital right before death. The body shuts down consciousness. Energy seeps out as heat. Internal mechanisms slow. Brain functions grow confused. Spaces that were alive slow down while others jolt to life to keep the body working. Eventually, the motor strip shuts off to conserve energy. Those who come back from the brink report seeing terrible visions of reality and memory stitched together in awful configurations. Krill's study on human sleep should be revolutionary. Humans need death to survive. Every night, when the lights dim and the ship quiets, humans willingly slip towards the void, taking their bodies and minds to the brink of death. Their body heat, heart rate, and breathing drop to unsustainable daytime levels. Their body stiffens, and they are assailed with pre-death visions. But do humans fear this? No, they revel in the nightly dance with the void, slipping in and out, taunting the darkness for hours. Their bodies draw energy from the blackness. Tell a human this, and they'll laugh, knowing death intimately but not seeing the similarities we see. They don't just enjoy this nightly activity but need it, pulling vitality from death itself. The longer a human goes without this dance, the more likely they are to succumb completely to the void. We in the galactic community knew humans were a death-formed species from a death world, worshipping death. Now we know why. The young spend the most time here, children and babies, while the elderly spend less, aware of their proximity to the blackness. The humans won't admit it, but there's proof. The hypnic jerk, a sudden violent wakefulness with an immense increase in body function and startle response. Some humans suggest it's the brain confusing the process of falling asleep with dying, and they are right. Hey kid, you want another story? Yeah, I thought so. Well, don't worry, story lover, we've got another awesome story coming up in a sec. Krill had never actually met a human. As a trauma doctor at the second largest medical facility in the quadrant, he heard many stories about them from visitors across the galaxy. Humans weren't new, but they were slowly spreading from their homeworld. Every day, more species brought stories of the strange race of predators. It used to be secondhand stories, but now more were personal encounters. Humans weren't a new topic, but they were popular. Every week, another visitor brought thrilling stories of the crazy Death Worlders. Krill doubted many stories, relying on hard science and facts. But one fateful day, he witnessed something that changed his opinion forever. It was a slow day, most transports had left, and Krill floated aimlessly, checking on patients and occasionally sending memos. Suddenly, the lights flashed red, and radio signals pulled against his lateral receptors. He turned to race down the hallway as the radio signals morphed into a voice. Doctor, we have an emergency SOS from the UNC Stabby requesting immediate medical assistance. The words were unfamiliar as he sped down the hall. Species scans indicate it's a human freelance ship. If not for his training, he might have stopped in shock. Repeat, humans, it's humans. I'm sending the biological map now. The radio signals morphed into a lateral cortical zone image. The shown human was odd 10 units tall, bipedal, endoskeleton, 2 cortical hemispheres, carbon-based, circulatory pump, and smooth muscle tubes. With advanced medical training in 4 cortical hemispheres, he was ready for any emergency operation. Upon seeing the biomap, he was almost sure those stories were false. Floating to a stop in the main medical unit, he waited with 2 staff, listening to the ship's engines approaching. Those engines are loud, he thought. The doors burst open, and 3 humans rushed in, pushing a 4th in a crude metal chair with wheels. Long waves of electromagnetic radiation indicated burning red paint on the 4th human. He flipped on his universal translator. "It's going to be all right, Captain. You're fine, just don't move your head." Krill noted the universal medical patch on the human's right limb. It must be an emergency if they were planet-side. Blocked. He could hardly see the 4th figure, neck immobilized by a foam collar. The humans were frantic, letting out terrified little wails. Krill quickly calculated the rod-pierced cortical tissue. The human should be dead. He expected the circulatory pump to be non-functional, but a quick scan showed it pumping slowly at 66 beats. "Hey Doc," Krill nearly jumped out of his skin as the human spoke, tight-lipped and still, eye-opening to roll towards him. Another squeak of horror. "Good, help me out here. I think I got something stuck in my frontal lobe." Krill didn't know what to do. What madness was this? The human wasn't dead and was speaking. "Impossible, Captain, please don't talk," the other human begged. "Listen to me and stop freaking out. I'm the one with this thing in my brain." The group quieted. Krill moved forward, shocked but trained. "Do you feel pain?" he asked. The human squinted thoughtfully. No, how?" "The brain can shut off pain when needed. He'll feel it more when the shock wears off," said the medic human. "You can shut off pain?" "Thank the Lord," muttered the human. "How did I get an accidental lobotomy?" "What's a lobotomy?" "We'll talk later." "Do you mind taking this thing out of my head first?" Krill wished he didn't know what a lobotomy was. Barbaric humans. But he was fascinated. No species could survive brain injury, especially this severe. The human's brain shut down pain and calmed him despite the damage. After treating the wound, Krill performed complex surgery to remove the object. The brain damage was extensive, but the medic seemed relieved. The eye socket was broken, the eye beyond repair, but it didn't bother the human, already functioning with a robotic leg and nerve system scars. The captain wouldn't answer where the scars came from, looking troubled and babbling about military secrets. Who would have thought these stories were true? Krill didn't imagine he'd be shipping off with humans the next week. The human's physical properties sparked great interest. Who would have thought a human could survive brain injury? Who would have thought humans can decide not to feel pain? What more could these durable bipeds endure if missing a leg was casual? Even their ship, the UNC Stabby, was named after stabbing. Krill wanted to ask what the humans thought about it. He couldn't imagine what murderous things such a race could endure or do. "Hey, don't click away. We've got another awesome story coming up right now. You don't want to miss it." Taken from the Drev Chronicles of the Elders about the deadly Galactic Assembly vs. Drev War. "We should have never started a war against the Galactic Assembly. We thought our superior strength and weaponry would give us a tactical advantage. Maybe if we had acted 20 cycles earlier, we might have been right, but the Galactic Assembly had something we didn't: humans. Originating from a single planet in an average solar system, humans seemed weak compared to us Drev. They were soft and breakable, with thin endoskeletons and puncturable skin. Bipedal with 2 additional limbs, not strong like us or smart like the tiny V. Their weapons were fine, but we were sure to win with our superior strength. We Drev, 10 feet tall, 6 limbs, armored exoskeletons requiring armor-piercing weapons, laughed at the idea of human units. We truly understood war like no other race. Raised in war, shaped by war, we died in the glory of war. We cut through humans, parted them like a fleshy wave, spilled their fluids until valleys ran red, and their cries boiled into the sky. They had tactics, bravery, damaging weapons, but not our strength. But then, they came back stronger. We tore limbs and organs from their bodies, painted rocks with their blood, but they did not die. The first creature marched up the rise, clattering metal, eyes burning with false light. We tried to destroy him, but his body wouldn't break. Bodies once torn to bits now deflected our weaponry. Limbs of flesh became steel and titanium. We didn't kill them, we gave them permission to evolve. In other wars, removing a limb removed a soldier. But not with humans. They replaced limbs with iron, stronger and faster. When eyes were gone, they used thermal infrared and ultraviolet, wired targeting systems into their brains. When ears were gone, they replaced those too. Hearts failed, they used machines. Lungs deflated, they created bags. Feet gone, they used rockets. No species stood against us, but humans took defeat and adapted. No race thought to mesh flesh with the machine. It was insane, but they did it. They wired electrical impulses into their nerves, ripped themselves open, replaced what was inside, unmade their humanity, and still remained human. We couldn't understand it. They swept through us, took us to our knees, then to our graves. We had one option left: surrender. I remember kneeling before that creature, one leg, no arm, no eyes, staring into my soul. Then he offered his hand and smiled. Here was a creature ripped apart until barely flesh, still smiling. You guys are some tough bastards, you know that? Honestly, we didn't know anything about tough.